Kath, I don't know what is going on in my household. It just feels like everyone keeps getting sick. 1 week, this kid is sick, someone gets better, and then before I know it, somebody else is sick. I'm not too sure what's going on.
You know, I always say along parenting being such a wonderful joy, there's so many challenges as well that come along with it. And one of them is illness. You know, children are just so much more vulnerable, and they do pick up so much more than what us adults do because they're obviously building their immune system. So it is really, it can be a huge challenge.
I'm definitely feeling it, but it's good to know that I'm not the only one. Yeah, because it can get quite overwhelming sometimes.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember that in that first year of life, and actually first few years of life, children will have up to 6 to 8, even more illnesses within a year period. And it's really important, as stressful as it is, because it's building their immunity. So the only way that the immune system can actually be strengthened is actually in a way to exercise it. And so every time they come across a virus or a bacteria that's fairly new, the immune system has to do a bit of work to kind of reprogram itself to actually fight this for future use. And so, you know, it has a memory as well. And so when our children are getting sick, it's actually building that immune memory in our children. But it doesn't make it any easier knowing that. But that is just why they are so much more vulnerable, because their immune system has to learn the process of fighting these bugs.
Okay. I feel a little bit better. But what does concern me, when they are sick, I find that they don't want to eat. So I'm a little bit worried, you know, that they're not getting enough nutrition during that time.
So one of the things that we do notice during illness is there's a huge appetite decrease. And obviously as their appetite decreases, so you find that they take in less food, and often what gets affected is their micronutrient intake. So I'm sure you've, you know, often seen that you need to give your children multivitamins, and those are really the micronutrients. So it can be vitamin B is one of the things that gets depleted quite quickly. Zinc, vitamin C, those are the vulnerable vitamins because your body's actually using those when you're fighting an illness. So the children kind of use up their stores quite quickly. And so what happens is that the less they eat, then the less they actually want to eat. So they get into this vicious cycle. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Yeah, I've noticed that. I have.
Yeah, and so this creates also a bit of a stress response. And so in this moment of stress, of not actually getting sufficient food in, they actually eat less protein. Yeah. And they tend to go towards comfort foods. I don't know if you've noticed your kids kind of, you know, heading down that road of more kind of your blander foods that are, you know, just easy to eat when you're feeling ill, just like we do when we're sick. You know, we have our kind of go-to foods. But sadly, it's not always comprehensive nutrition. So they tend to then actually lack in certain critical nutrients. Another one also being iron. Yeah. And iron is such an interesting one because the bacteria and the viruses actually use our children's iron stores during their life cycle in our children's bodies. So they get further depleted in iron, which is often why you probably have found a doctor will say, stop the iron supplement if your child has a particularly severe illness and then resume it once your child is better. And that's because you don't want to feed the bacteria. And that was kind of the old way of thinking. Now we know it doesn't actually help because we end up with just a very depleted child. Yeah. So we actually want to keep them nourished during the illness cycle because of all these different factors.
Yeah. I can totally relate because my kids, they probably just want to eat like noodles. They don't even want soup. I mean, I make a soup with all these vegetables, but I don't think they just don't have the energy to eat it. So I'm wondering, is there perhaps something out there that I can give them or just to supplement the nutrition during that time when they are ill?
So what you're looking there is, and that's the good news, you know, you're looking for a really comprehensive nutritional supplement. You know, really when children are ill or recovering, They don't really want to be taking a whole lot more pills and potions. And you wanted something that's going to kind of meet all their requirements. And there's a nutritional supplement called Pediasure, which I really like to recommend because it's got the 5-in-1 benefit. And it contains the comprehensive mix of the micronutrients we spoke about earlier, the macronutrients that will meet all your child's growing needs, as well as boost their immune system. Okay. Which is really nice and reassuring, comforting for you as a mom to know that there is something like that.
Wow. That actually sounds like something you should have in your kitchen all the time.
Yeah, I would say that every household should have a Pediasure in their cupboard. And the nice thing is it's easy accessible. It's really loved by children. It's easy to drink. We were saying, you know, it's the comfort go-to food. And something that is milky and just subtle in flavor is really inviting for a child who's maybe a bit nauseous or when they're having a fever. It's a nice way to get in fluid intake, which is, we know that they can easily dehydrate during a bout of illness. And then it's got your macronutrients. So it's got your protein, which is really important because your protein stores also get quite depleted during an illness cycle. And in this vicious cycle, what happens is that as your appetite decreases, you eat less. So then you want less. And then your appetite further decreases. And using a nutritional supplement like Pediasure actually stops that cycle because suddenly the child's body gets re-nourished and the body then gets used to having these macronutrients like proteins and the good calories and the micronutrients that we spoke about, like vitamin B, it's got iron, it's got zinc, it's got the vitamin C. So it's got everything that you need all in one nutritional supplement that they can actually then benefit and break the cycle of low appetite, low intake, because there's not often enough time between these illnesses.
Exactly.
So if you're thinking, if you're having 6 to 8 or more illnesses a year, that's almost 1 a month. And the average virus lasts about 14 days. So if you think you're getting 1 a month, that means 2 weeks of every month, you've got some virus in your body. You've only got 2 weeks before the next ones come in. And then it starts up again. And that's why moms feel so like, I don't know what to do because I don't get on top of that. And so if you can't keep them nourished during the illness, you actually have very little time to fix it. And so this allows you that momentum to actually fix it.
That makes sense. And I've heard lots of things about prebiotics and probiotics. Would I need to give my kids that in addition to the Pediasure?
That's a wonderful thing. They've got a comprehensive mix of pre and probiotic in it. So even post like a gastro virus, which is very common in the childhood years, as you know, the gut needs to be rejuvenated with the probiotics. But we also know probiotics feed off prebiotics. And so we sometimes fixate on just the probiotic, but we don't actually give food to generate these strong probiotics in their gut. And the nice thing with the Pediasure supplement is it's got the pre and the pro there.
That's amazing.
I know. And it's all in one. And you're not, again, popping more and more pills. And the other benefit is that Pediasure is lactose free. So after a gastro bug, when they often are told you mustn't have lactose, then Pediasure plays a wonderful role in that.
That's awesome. I'm definitely going to stock up.
So it's really important to, I would say, keep a Pediasure in your cupboard, make it a regular in these sick days, these, the use of a Pediasure supplement can actually reduce illness by 60%.
Wow.
I
can definitely do with that.
Absolutely. So that allows your child just to be that much more healthier, that much more energetic, and they can continue to meet their milestones and not constantly interrupted by illnesses. So not only is it replenishing their bodies, but it's also reducing the incidence of illnesses because they're that much stronger to fight it.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kath. That was really useful to me. I feel so much better.
Pleasure.